a lot of us, we don't recognize it because it happens to all of us. We become a slave to money. And it's like, that's where we determine our value. Like that's where we actually believe, like, if I make X amount of money, I will be an important person. I'll feel powerful. I'll be respected more. And it's like, certain points there are true, but are you going to be respected by people that you want to be respected by? Are you going to appeal to the woman that you want to appeal to if you make more money? You're not going to appeal to the nice country girl that is not into you for the money. You're going to appeal to the fucking LA thought. So like that's literally something you have to consider. I want to make $10,000 in a month. And I know if we do this and we get 10 people, we can make $10,000 a month because I'm not charging less than $1,000 a month. And our best month, I think we pulled in like 28 grand, which was sick.
Dario, Luke, welcome to the show.
Mighty Brad, what's up?
Thanks for having us.
Hey, of course. So let's take it back to the beginning. I remember I had a podcast with my buddy back in high school. And a few months after we started that, I saw your guys' podcast, and I took a lot of interest in that because it was pretty similar in what we were talking about, and we agreed on a lot of concepts. Take me in depth as to why you guys even started that.
All right. So it's kind of a funny story. So I had a friend who was having some issues with a girl. And I was just like, I kind of just saw it for what it was, if that makes sense. I was like, this is crazy. So I was kind of ripping on him a little bit, but not in like a negative way, kind of in a way of like, dude, you're my friend. Like, I don't want to have to see you go through this. So you were just putting up with a lot of disrespect, like the nicest dude ever, like really nice kid. But I was just like, man, like, I don't think she actually like respects you. Like at this point in your life, I was like, and I think that you should just really let her go and find her own way.
But it wasn't just this. He was going on like an hour-and-a-half long convo with this kid.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was like a bunch of wisdom all on top of each other. So then after he said all of it, we're like, dude, what if we had that like recorded? Like, what if that was a podcast? Like, we could make a podcast around that. And
so, yeah,
that's kind of the story. And then we formed it.
So, so the whole concept was just like, I know that there's a million dudes that need to hear that because and at this point, mind you, as soon as I came out with the podcast, a lot of people, and I'll go back to where I'll retrace myself, but a lot of people were like, oh, this kid is like fresh and fit. I was like, who the fuck is fresh and fit? Like, it was really our idea. Like it was really our idea. Like, I didn't see a podcast. Obviously I knew what a podcast was, but I never thought that I would start a podcast with Dario. So I had like the wisdom, you could say, and I guess I had like the funny appeal to be on camera, and then Dario had all the technical skills. So
we bought a bunch of microphones, but we hadn't seen like Fresh and Fit or Tate. Like, everybody was in the comments like, oh, he looks like Tate. Like, Luke was doing the unbuttoned shirt before we even saw Tate doing that. So it was kind of funny, like the way it all ended up.
Dude, I knew it was just going to be like shit that would just like stir the pot and like create a trend, and it kind of did. So essentially how we started, I was just like, I know I have good case in points that I could stand on. I was like, I'm just going to start inviting a bunch of girls over. I was like, let's just see who we could get on this podcast. So a bunch of girls from my high school were just like, yeah, I'm down to get on. Like, let's see, like, let's just have a conversation. So had them on, and the rest was, bro, the first episode
was like 40K views.
It got like 40,000 views on YouTube.
Blew
which is
up.
crazy. Like to me, that was crazy. Like, even just thinking about it now, it's like, damn, maybe I should start a podcast again. But I think back, it was hilarious, bro. So I had these two girls on, and we were just bullshitting back and forth. And I was like, I had another idea. So this was kind of like the first funnel that I set up unintentionally. I was like, how can I actually get people to watch the long form content? I'm like, well, everyone likes short form content. So I'm like, I'm going to start getting like these little bits of the clips that Dario gives me. I would literally just screen record them off my phone and then cut out like the screen recorded part. I'm like, I'm going to leave all the cliffhangers and all the funny shit where I'm like, woman can't drive, or like something else that was just dumb. And then I would just let the clip cut, right? So no one knew like what was said after that.
Or I remember one was like, you're telling me you're allowed to like other girls' Instagram posts, and then it's just like, yes. And then it just
no one has context to the full clip, because really I didn't say anything that was too crazy, but no one had context. And I would play like the Undertaker theme in the back, and I would just start posting these clips on YouTube, and 500,000 views, 800,000 views, 900. Like, immediately it started a trend, and I'm like, yep, we have something here. Like not money, but I was like, we have something here that can create some level of virality. And then I had my ex-girlfriend come onto the podcast, and that one blew up. That one, I had a clip off that one that had like 6 million views. Another one had like 4 million views. Dude, it was crazy. And that was all raw. Like everything that we've done with the podcast, nothing was ever scripted. It was all fully uncut. It was really just like based as to how I personally feel. And it was funny, man. We had a bunch of ideas. So that's how we started.
I think that's like such an amazing way to have blown up like that, because all you're doing is speaking your mind and you're having fun with it. You're having a lot of fun with it. You're just making these clips, doing these cliffhangers, writing this funny stuff. And you like, if I had to guess, you're not taking it too seriously. You're not like, oh, I need it to blow up or anything like this. You're just having fun with it, and it just happened.
No, bro, it all happened on accident, which is so weird. I put "Don't be a cuck bitch" on like my wall. Dude,
I saw that.
my basement, like, dude, none of it made any sense, but it was hilarious, bro. Like, I'm making these podcasts. It was almost like a play on psychology. Like at that point, I'm really not making any money, but I have these goals and I have this understanding of how the world works, and I know that it's coming. Do you know what I mean? So that's where me and Dario are manifesting at this time. I'm like, by this date, we'll be making 6 figures. We fucking crushed that goal. So like we had all these goals and all these concepts like drawn out, and then we're like, I know time is just give it time. So over time, good things started. Like, bro, we had all these ideas. I was like, I'm gonna start charging dudes $15 for a 30-minute consultation with me just to have a conversation, because bro, there was dudes that would start DMing me, bro. I remember when the clips were going viral, LDP, like, bro, just my DMs were flooded. So I was like, I know I could monetize this if I tried hard enough. And at that point, I actually never had, I did have a job before then. I worked at a restaurant, but before then I was making $12 an hour cash, like really no money. So I was like, hey, if I can make $15 for a 30-minute conversation to work from home and have a conversation with somebody, and I can make their life a little bit better, let's try it. So we tried a bunch of different things, but really it was just, keeping the content coming consistently. And bro, we did, man. Like, we had a blast with it because it was really off the cusp. It was funny content. The conversations were very free flowing. Obviously, the hard work kind of came on this man.
There's a lot of work, dude. Every episode was like 5 to 10 hours, bro. And I know editing podcasts. People don't see it. It's a lot. You gotta first record the podcast, sync up the audio, timestamps on YouTube, TikTok clips, full YouTube video, full YouTube description. There's so much that goes into it that people just think like, oh, it's just a YouTube vid. Like, there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah. Right. And you even do the editing better than I do right now, because I do the podcast full through, but every time someone stops talking, you're clipping that out and doing that. So, dude, props to you for all that. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time, but you enjoyed it, so that's what mattered.
I was super meticulous with it too. Like, a lot of the curses that Luke would say, I'm like, bro, there was one episode he cursed so many times. I'm like, dude, this is like a trashy look. I'm leaving all this out, or we're just not even gonna post the episode. But it was a lot of fun. It was fun while it lasted. It was good.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, in terms of a podcast, it's like anyone can do it. Not anyone, but most people can do it if they really wanted to. If they really have something they're knowledgeable about or just want to have fun with. Because Luke, like you were saying before, you had that conversation with your buddy, and that inspired you to make the podcast itself because you thought a lot of other guys had to hear that. Like, I can't even tell you how many conversations after I started the podcast with my buddy and then my one now, and even before that, where I'm just sitting around with a friend or two and we have a 2-hour, 3-hour conversation. And then at the end, we're like, bro, imagine this was recorded and people could see this.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then, taking the step to start it is like, it took me a while to even start the podcast. Like the one with me and my friend too. We contemplated for a year and a half before we actually sat down and recorded an episode.
Yeah. And that's where your brain really, man, like it's a powerful thing. Cause like, imagine, right. And this is where I think back to when I was like 13, 14, I was like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, why wasn't I focused on this? But you can't really beat yourself up too much because, you might be able to think back, like, I had this idea for a year and a half. What if the same day you had the idea, your first episode went up? You know what I mean? Like, that's where, like, that power of just taking action, like, sometimes, and dude, I know this is true firsthand because I experienced it when I was an athlete. I used to play a lot of baseball. And I actually I had a fucking downward spiral in my career for baseball because of how meticulous I am. Always focused on form, always focused on technique, but overly focused, overly in sync with my body. And it would fucking make me worse when I was in the batter's box, when I was on the mound, wherever I was in the field. I was just in my head, and it really like damaged me. And I was like, what if I was able to just get out here and have a good time? Like really, like one day I just withdrew. I'm like, I'm not thinking about mechanics. I'm not thinking about technique. I don't want to think about anything other than just playing the game. I had a friggin' crazy home run that day, and I was just like, oh my God, that felt so good. I was like, I wasn't thinking. And sometimes it's very strange, man. Like sometimes the less you think and you just go and you just act,
The better
things
things.
flesh themselves out over time. There's going to be hurdles and pivots, and there is times to really go to the drawing board. But sometimes people, like yourself, like Dario, like myself, we're very like we care a lot about what we do, and we're very meticulous. But sometimes that could be very damaging because you look at it and you're like, oh my God,
how much time
I've been obsessing over this thing for the past 10 hours, and I still haven't taken any real action. Like the real hard work hasn't even started yet. But
Yeah,
here I am.
literally.
I'm still contemplating. That's what we're running into right now.
Yeah.
So, it's a real issue that, we run into. Analysis paralysis, shiny object syndrome. It's very common, man. So I totally understand why it took a long time to start the podcast.
Right. Yeah. I did a podcast earlier today with one of my favorite YouTubers, and we were talking about a very similar concept to that. And he was giving the example. He played a ton of football in high school and college, and he was saying, there's so many times where your mind is going to tell you to do one thing, but you just have to completely disregard it. He gave the example of when you're on the field with someone and there's a guy who's so much bigger than you running at you, and you're running at him, and in that moment your mind is telling you, bro, back off. He's gonna kick the shit out of you. So your mind just wants you to back off and stop. But you gotta ignore that. And you just gotta pummel into him. You gotta go straight forward. Even though your mind is telling you one thing, you have to disregard it and just do it.
100%. I agree. It's tough, bro. It's really tough. That's the main thing that Dario and I run into now. At this point, I know a lot of people talk about hard work, discipline. That's no longer the issue. I can honestly say that I've trained, you could say myself enough to the point of having discipline, 12-hour work days, 15-hour work days. That's nothing. That's easy because if you enjoy the work, it's really not much. I'm in my room with my brother. We're fucking laughing our balls off, bullshitting people on the phone. Like, it's just fun stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't care. The hard work, that doesn't really faze us. It's a matter of trying to make the right decisions that really gets in our way right now. Just being too technical, analysis paralysis. Those are the issues that we run into. So I totally relate to that, bro.
Dude, that's the biggest thing. I was having a conversation with my dad yesterday, and I made a decision in my life, and I said that I was like, did I make the right decision? He was like, it sometimes you don't know if it's the right decision. Because you might be thinking so much about the pros and the cons, and you can't figure out which one. Sometimes you just have to make the decision, and whatever the consequences are, good or bad, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. Because you can't go a year, 2 years without making the conversation and keep thinking about it. You just have to do it.
So like the right decision is just a decision at that point. Like, it doesn't even matter whether it's right or wrong. Just any decision, a decision that you just follow through with is a good decision. Because like if you don't do anything, like even with business right now, dude, for the past 3 months we've been in our heads. Like, think about how much further we would have been if we would have just picked something and gone full steam ahead for those 3 months, We would have been way further. But you take everything with a grain of salt, and you kind of just got to keep pushing. Yeah,
it's a lesson.
Because we were listening to Hormozy, and he was like before, and in the agency space, people refer to it as niche hopping. So when you start a marketing agency, in the beginning, it's okay to be broad and help everybody with everything, but there comes a point in time where you have to niche down. And you have to pick a certain market and a certain person that you want to serve and help out, and whether it's client acquisition, whatever the case may be. But Hormozy was saying on a podcast, he had like a dental agency, a gym agency, a chiropractic agency, all this stuff. And for like 6 months, he was in his head, like, which one do I go with? Do I do the gyms? Do I do the dentist? Do I do the chiro? And he was having people paying like $10K a pop in each niche. And he was in analysis paralysis. He couldn't make a decision. He was literally just stuck in time. Time was moving, but he wasn't. And there came a day where his girl literally said, like, yo, if you don't pick a niche, I'm leaving you, which is crazy. But he's just like, fuck, I got to pick something. He went with gyms, and he's way further along now. What's it called?
I wish my girl would say that shit. Maybe I would pick a fucking niche tomorrow. Bro, like, listen, man, it's true. for some context, Brad, like would you take someone seriously that said, I teach Latin, phys ed, special ed, Italian, world history, and biology and math? No. So if you're if you're in the field of marketing, you're not helping landscaping companies, med spas, chiropractors. You can't do that because at the end of the day, you're going to get bad results for everybody, and you're going to have a churn and burn business. They'll stay with you for 2 months, they're gone. 2 months, gone. 2 months, gone. 2 months, gone. You don't want that. Retention, that's what matters. And then it's like when you pitch your product, it's like, hey, I know you own a wedding venue, whatever it may be. I have this product that helps scale, your kind of business. I'll give you 10 testimonials from clients that I work with. And I'd love to just have a chat with you to show you what we do and how we can help you guys acquire more business. That way you get taken more seriously versus, I have a marketing company that helps businesses grow. It's just blanket. You want to be a specialist always.
Right, because and that's not to say that in terms of other areas of life, it's not like, because you can be knowledgeable about multiple things and then inform people and give advice on different things. But in terms of what you're saying, definitely in terms of business and things along that lines, being precise, and because like you just said, if you're telling people you know so much about all these 10 fields, it's like, damn, this guy must have put in like a ton of time. And then if they don't get the huge results that they're expecting because they think you're this incredibly knowledgeable person, they're going to be a little bit disappointed. But then, if you're pitching one thing and you're actually really knowledgeable about that one thing, then you can truly help tons of people with that one thing.
Yep, exactly.
And I'd say the number one thing, you have to not be original in business, but you don't want to do something that other people are doing and expect it to work for yourself. Like, you can't just take somebody's idea and run with it and call it your own. Like, God will see through it. You just won't go far. Your own conscience will feel it. You can't move. Like, literally, you'll hit invisible ceilings. It's so weird. Like, it has to be yours in a sense. Like, you have to create your own product. You have to put in the hours yourself. Otherwise,
you could get a concept or an idea, and you could see something that's proven. Like, so and so has a business in this niche, and it's working really well.
Let's develop our own. Yeah,
exactly. Like, for example, Brad, like, say you wanted to start a marketing agency. I would suggest that someone like yourself who has an interest in psychology started a marketing agency for a psychologist. Do you understand what I mean? Because now you have the leverage of, hey, I'm a psych student, but I have a bunch of marketing and advertising background. I know how to help you scale and get more clientele. I've worked with this business. Let's have a chat. That's where you'll get more people to actually listen to you versus, for me, say I want to start, a separate business. Maybe I could start a podcast agency for struggling podcasters that want to grow their base. You know what I mean? Here's how you can get from 0 to 200,000 followers within the next 90, something along those lines, to go where you leverage, where you have interest and intention. So, that's kind of a prime example.
Right. And Dario, like you were saying before about, God will see through if you're not doing like your original thing, what you deem true to yourself. It's like, because I see so many people who, let's just say, like, put out content on social media or whatever it is. There's so many people that I feel as though are doing things just for the results of virality, not because they actually enjoy doing the TikTok dances. It's just because they want a following in that sense. And I think when and sometimes you have to do certain things to get to where you like with other things in life, you might have to do certain things that you don't like doing to get to a place. But I think in terms sometimes of content creation, it's like so many people are being fake in what they're putting out. And, like, for example, when you had your podcast, you put out what you talk and what you believe and stuff like that. When I come on here and I have people on, I tell people what I believe, and the guest is, I assume that they're themselves and sharing what they truly believe. And I think in terms of people just psychologically actually liking you as a person, that's the way to go.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I totally agree.
So in terms of the agency, where did you guys all start with that? Was it an idea that you had for a while? Did you put a lot of research and then we're like, all right, let's start this up? How'd that go?
It was through the podcast, actually. We had a guest come on.
So it ties back to the clothing. So we had that guest come on.
Exactly.
We lost our relationship with him. The business was failed. And then from there, Dario and I were just like, back to the drawing board because we really thought working with that guy was the way out. And that's really another thing that we came to the drawing board. No one saves you. No one can build what you know you have to build for yourself. That's one thing that literally smacked us in the face. We would try to attach ourselves to all these people that had more than us financially, thinking that that was going to somehow equate to us getting into that position. Being able to see it in person and manifest it, it was great. It helped us a lot. We got around lots of we entered a lot of rooms that we shouldn't have been in. We did a friggin' podcast in New York City with this guy that owns a car rental company with a fleet of supercars. We drove our friggin' Nissan there, and we're like, what am I looking at? Like, the shittiest car was a McLaren.
So, and then our Nissan posted.
Yeah, nicest guy ever though. So we're having all these conversations with these people that are making money, and I'm just like, shit.
Yeah, what are we doing?
I'm like, it seems like all these businesses, from an outsider's point of view, take a lot of money. But then I start really thinking about it, and I'm like, hold on. My one friend that has a McLaren is a day trader. You don't need much money to start that. My other friend, not really my friend, but this other guy that I see that has a really big car rental business, started with simply one car, which might have been what, $1,300 a month. Really not that bad. This other guy started a business online that required barely any capital, and I'm like, there's a lot of people that are starting cheap businesses but scaling them based on how good the product and service is. So now I'm just at the drawing board, and I'm like, all right, let's think about a cheap business that we could start that we take some level of interest in. And now I'm just starting to think, I'm like, well, who has money? I'm like, who's going to be willing to pay us? I'm like, why would someone even pay us? I'm like, I don't want to sell to people, no offense. Like, I don't want to sell to people that are, not willing to spend thousands of dollars a month.
I don't want to sell to people like myself, in a sense.
Yes.
Like, I didn't have money to spend, so why would I try and sell to people like myself? Mm-hmm. Would make no sense because I don't have thousands of dollars to expense.
Right. So I'm like, let's figure out who's got the money.
Yep.
So we're like, okay, business owners, like, they have money that they're willing to spend, especially if they have a physical location. So I was like, dude, what if we, and this was an idea I had one day, and I came to Dario and proposed the idea. I'm like, what if we helped all these local businesses with their content? I'm like, what if we shot their videos, edited them together, pitched it, that the newest way to get organic reach through social media is through TikTok, and that's where they're missing out because I know most businesses don't have TikTok. We're going to go door to door to every single car dealership, because if they have a car dealership and you have a shit ton of cars, you have a decent amount of money, you have employees, you understand the importance of marketing. We're going to walk door to door to every single car dealership that we can find and try to pitch this product. So that's what we did. And we only did that because local to us, we have a bunch of dealerships, as you know. We got Dodge, Ford, we got everything. So we got booted out of a bunch of places. Like,
Nissan kicked us out.
We thought it was going to be so easy. We were going to be like, we'll just charge them like $3,000 a month, and we'll just do all their videos and stuff, and like they'll just say yes. Like that was almost like the delusion that we were in the beginning. And it did not work out like that. So we walked around for like, what was it, a week?
Yeah.
And got nothing. So it was obviously it was a little bit defeating, but at the same time, we knew we were doing something. So the way that it worked, we would go door to door to all these dealerships, and then we would get our phones and send out these personalized Instagram videos to like restaurant owners. And we'd be like, hey, Tommy's Tavern, thanks for checking out this video. I just want to send you a video to let you know that I love the content on your page, especially your last post, like super personalized messages. But the one thing that I would suggest is that you guys add some high performance reels to this account, because you can get way more locals to actually see it, engage with the content, and actually come in and eat the food. If that's anything you guys would want help with, feel free to reach back out to this video. I'd love to stop in at some point this week.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We were just getting our feet wet with sales. And
it started with a bunch of door-to-doors to car dealerships. Then we didn't sign any dealerships, so we're like, we got to reach out to people a different way. So then we started cold DMing, because I'm verified on Instagram. We're like, if I could get people to check mark to like see what we do, I know once we close our first client, then we'll close a bunch. So we closed like this ice cream shop in Long Branch for like $700 a month for like 20 posts.
It's crazy.
Terrible deal. Like, looking back, like we should have never quoted ourselves that low, but it was our first client. I knew like once we had a client, it would just like the snowball effect.
We had to send back the money.
It was
like,
it was not.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know what we were going to do. Right. The way that we pitched it was, I have a big podcast. My brother has a big following. We know how to build social media platforms. You always got to use the leverage that you have. So I'm like, although I haven't used it on a brick and mortar business, we've used it on our own personal brands to help scale. So, they see a verified account, and they see an account with over 200,000 followers with millions of views. They're like, all right, I guess this could be beneficial to my brand. And then we knew eventually someone would give us a shot. So that's kind of what happened, but it went terribly south. We had to send back the money, but we just kind of kept going. And it spiraled. And we would just reach out to, New York, New Jersey businesses. Our biggest clientele base was in Manalapan, Marlboro. I'm sure you know some of them, like Nona's on 9, like Manalapan, Marlboro, Staten Island. We had a couple clients, and then even Manhattan. We signed a big deal with a big restaurant in Manhattan, and then that relationship burned down too. So it was really what it was, Bradley. It was our first business venture, and it was a big time mess.
It was fun, but it wasn't a business. Like looking back, it's not a business. There's no SOPs around it.
The way I looked at it was, I want to make $10,000 in a month. And I know if we do this and we get 10 people, we can make $10,000 a month because I'm not charging less than $1,000 a month. And our best month, I think we pulled in like 28 grand, which was sick.
We were like 22, something like that.
But between, we'll have to check the spreadsheet, but we were between 22 and 28 on like our best month. And it was a lot of fun because we were just like,
it was a crazy month. We'd never seen money like that.
Yeah, but it was just a bunch of salesmen, just a bunch of DMs, and at that time, like, prior to earning, I guess, that level of money, which still isn't that much money, trust me, we thought that like making $10,000 a month was like this life-changing amount of money.
Like once you make 10K, you go out to nice dinners, you have the car you want, you have the apartment you want.
None of that happens because when you're making 10K a month, you realize like, okay, the apartment is
like, really break it down. 10K a month is 8,000. Oh no, not 10K, but 6 figures. Everybody wants 6 figures. That's $8,333 a month. 8,033. So say you eat out every day, right? Chipotle, that comes out to like 600 a month. Your car payment, probably like 500, 2,000 bucks. You're looking at like $1,000 right there. So you're already down to like seven. Yeah, you're already down a lot. Then like insurance on the car itself.
Forget about it, bro.
You're done. You're done.
Yeah, it really.
You have no money in the bank. If you're living with somebody else.
If you're living decently and you're not, living below your means, that's one thing that I'm not really a big fan of. Like, not that I don't watch money. Like, obviously, I make sure that we're not overspending like crazy, but I have enough faith and belief that we're going to be able to earn a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really watch like, oh no, we tipped that guy too much. Like, that's part of having like a scarcity mindset, and you don't believe in yourself. If you feel that way, you don't believe in yourself, and you don't believe that you can actually help yourself and put yourself into a better position. I know very soon we're going to have the months consistently at $70,000 a month, $100,000 a month, because in the grand scheme of things, with the amount of money that's moving throughout markets, it's not that much money. Still, it's not that much money.
It's not.
But it's about how much money you want to earn. That's one area of self-improvement, and that's one piece of life. A lot of people, their biggest thing is like, dude, we work with a bunch of people that own big-time businesses, but they're friggin' out of shape like crazy. And it's like, okay, financially you got to here, but your health is down here. So now you're going to die friggin' 15 years prematurely. If you would have given yourself that time with your health, now you're here. So it's just one area of life. So, having good relationships, this is all stuff that I'm trying to manage, man. Like, I'm not spending enough time with my girlfriend, spending a lot of time on the business, my physical fitness, mental health. Like, it all needs to be as seamless as you can make it, but they're all areas of self-improvement. Like, it's not just like you get rich and you're successful. I don't believe that, because I see a lot. Why did Robin Williams kill himself? Why did this hedge fund billionaire the other day just kill himself?
Kate Spade.
Why? Himself. Because that's one piece.
Because it goes beyond. Yeah, it goes beyond the money.
The grass isn't always green on the other side. People that don't make a lot of money envy people that make a lot of money, and people that make a lot of money envy people that don't make a lot of money because they feel like there could be no one out to get them, and that the love is real when you have no money. So everyone wants to be in a different, position or situation, and then when you're there, it's not really all that. So that's that was a big thing, man. We prioritized the only thing we had on our brain for about 6 months when we were working with that guy from the clothing company. Money.
It was bad. It was actually bad.
It became toxic.
Like, looking back, dude, our mindset was so messed.
Yeah.
Like, it was not good.
And now I look at that guy and like, and it's really sad because the only thing he has in his life is money. Everything else is shot. He doesn't have good relationships with his family. And like, this is not a diss. This is the truth. He doesn't have a good relationship with his partner, his family, his own mental health. Like, it's all trash because he's been using the money as a blanket to help the situation. Let me just make more money. Maybe I'll feel better. It doesn't work like that. It's a temporary rush. So, you got to make enough to feel comfortable and live with, with how you want to live, and make enough time for the shit that also matters to you in itself. Because we all need money, but we should all focus on being healthier, stronger. It all comes full circle. It's not just the money. It's one piece.
I completely agree. Something I've often thought about is, it would be nice for me to be a millionaire, right? But what about the insecurities that I have, all these other problems in my life that I'm dealing with? Once I have $1 million in the bank, is that going to go away? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
Like you just said, it's one area of life. If you don't work on your mental health, if you don't have good relationships, what's the point of it? What's the point of being in a $10 million home if you're completely alone? Yeah. And you've destroyed all your relationships along your journey? What's the point of it?
It's terrible, because you were grinding. Like, bro, you were grinding and now you have nothing. Like, that's where you have, it's hard, but you have to find that level of balance, which is where, like, now I try to always make time to do something that I like no matter how long it takes. Like, if I'm going to work out, I'm going to take my time, decompress, exercise, focus on myself, stretch, do my thing, and then I can come back to focusing on the business. But I'm going to take that time for myself. You know what I mean? Because having that balance is critical, bro. It's critical. It's critical. I see so many people that, and it's weird. It's like people don't want to hear you out unless you're making money. That's the one area of life where it's like you only appear successful to people if you have money. It's weird. Like, it's like people don't want to hear you out.
People, at least like motivational talk. Like people only take motivation from people that are making money.
Yeah,
and
it's very weird. And I was at church the other day, and I saw like the Monsignor like on the stage just like talking, and I'm like, dude, this guy has achieved such levels of religious wealth and faith wealth that I don't think that I can ever personally
that money can't even
achieve in my life, that I know money can never equate to. He's abundant in so many other ways. Like,
so he's rich.
He's rich.
It's all about how you define rich.
He's rich at heart. So you have to really define what that means for you. For me, it's a nice balance of all of it. Yeah. And that's where we're trying to build that out for ourselves.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Bob Marley, who's a musician. I don't know if you saw the interview, but the interviewer asked him, he's like, "Are you rich?" And he's like, What do you mean rich? And he's like, "Oh, you have a lot of materialistic things, a lot of materialistic wealth." And he's like, "No, I don't have that kind of rich. I have the richness of life." Because I haven't made a ton of money in my lifetime, right? But I feel like I can already know that just the fact that you're existing and I can move my fingers and I'm alive, like this is a joy that is greater than any amount of money that I could ever make. And in terms of elevating my mental health, relationships, my spiritual knowledge, it's like that is on another level and brings me another level of joy when I just have $1,000 that just came into my account. It's
yeah. And it's finding that balance, because like you need the money to live. Yeah, you do. But at the same time, it's like a lot of us, we don't recognize it because it happens to all of us. We become a slave to money. And it's like, that's where we determine our value. Like that's where we actually believe, like, if I make X amount of money, I will be an important person. I'll feel powerful. I'll be respected more. And it's like, certain points there are true, but are you going to be respected by people that you want to be respected by? Are you going to appeal to the woman that you want to appeal to if you make more money? You're not going to appeal to the nice country girl that is not into you for the money. You're going to appeal to the fucking LA thought. So like that's literally something you have to consider. So it's all subjective, bro, and it's true.
Love the smile.
It's true.
No, but yeah.
You made an extra 10 grand. Now you can go throw it at the club, but the one you're going home with she might swipe that fucking watch off you too.
Exactly. That's something I've thought deeply about, and that's a problem that all these big musicians and people who are famous deal with. It's especially as a guy, it's the question: does this girl actually give a shit about me, or is it just because I have money? And I feel like if I was in that position and I didn't have a girl before I got all the wealth and everything, it's like, how do I ever know if you truly love me for me?
Yeah. It's scary.
And I don't know how that would feel. That would eat me alive, as I'm sure it does to so many other people who are in that position.
Literally.
Hey man, everyone has their struggles, bro. I think I think it's a matter of just putting on the scale. I always just say someone has it worse than me. That's kind of always been my mentality, is that someone always has it worse than me. Like, there, so many people today just got diagnosed with cancer. That's how I look at it. I'm like, that's got to be the scariest thing in the world. Like, someone has it worse than us. So I'm willing to, try to balance my mental health how I can, and try to figure things out and situate them. But people have it bad, man. People have it bad. So it's about putting things into perspective.
Right. I think that's such an important thing, because it's something that I think so many of us in society lack is, none of us are grateful for what we have now. So how do you expect to be grateful for everything you get in the future if you can't even be joyful or be content with what you have now? Nothing is ever going to be enough for you. That's the problem that I think so many of us deal with it. Whether it's money, anything, it's never enough.
Yep, exactly.
I couldn't agree more.
There's no level of just being content with what you have.
Right. So I know you guys got to go. So I appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you, man. Much love.
Thank you, brother.
So for everyone watching, where can they go on social media and everything to check you guys out?
So they can find me on Instagram. It's just @onlyldp. And then on TikTok, it's the same, ONLYLDP. And then Dario over here.
@Dario Del Priori, Italian last name. Or you can find our media account, Social Flock Media.
Social Flock Media, yes, that's a business.
That's it.
All right. Appreciate you guys coming on. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Brian. Have a
Bradley.
good one, bro. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, man.